Today I'm going to give you a rundown of my main rig, the Playseat Trophy with the Fanatec GT DD Pro wheelbase and a few extras. Let's get into it. Here's the rig as it normally sits in my living room. It's a fairly small living room, but as you can see, Playseat Trophy fits nicely over here in the corner. I am on a fisheye lens here. Let's switch to normal, see if that helps. But doesn't look too bad. I'm a big fan of this cockpit. I did get mine used on Facebook Marketplace for about $350. It is pretty pricey if you're going to buy one new. What I really like about this thing though is it's rigid, stable, looks pretty great, and it's very comfortable. And as you're going to see, I've been able to attach a bunch of mods to this that normally you would be doing on an aluminum profile rig. It is a huge improvement over the last cockpit I had, which was a folding Next Level Racing GT Lite. And then I've also used a wheel stand before, but this thing is like rock solid. I would say, I would call this basically semi-portable. I can drag this thing out of the room if and when I need to, but you're not going to load it into the back of your car and take it to your buddy's house to go racing. You can see I've got the Fanatec GT DD Pro wheelbase. I did recently upgrade to the Mclaren GT3 wheel, and it's fantastic. I like it. The buttons especially are just far more substantial, less toy-like. Back to the rig, you can see I've got pedals mounted here, and I've got an Arduino Uno that's running WinSim and rumble pedals, and I've got a knob sound audio interface / Class D power amp that's running my bass shakers. And I'll see if we can get underneath here, get a little better look. So under the seat is a plastic cutting board. I've got another video that shows this much better, but I'm going to try to sneak in here a little bit. You can see that red thing is the cutting board, and I attached a BST2 directly to that. Up in the front here, if we can drag this thing out, I'm going to try to tip it over here without killing myself or breaking something. And you can see another BST2 underneath. I've also got the power supply for the Fanatec wheelbase in a small USB hub. We'll get more into what's all connected there. And some cable management. I've got another video that shows, let's see if we can get another look at this. You can see my cables are running up through the frame, or into the frame. Let's see if we can get a little more light in there. And then they run up inside the tube and come out right there underneath. Hard to see. Not the cleanest drilling, but I did file it to make sure nothing's gonna damage cables. A grommet would be nice, but it's so packed, it really wouldn't work. Really, the only downsides is adjustability. You do have a good amount of adjustability, like with the pedal tray, and the seat back does, you can change the angle. You can change the angle of the wheelbase. And like I did, you can actually flip the wheelbase plate around 180 degrees, which helped me get the distance right. And then you can slide this whole thing so that you got the back half and the front half, and right where this little silver bracket is, you're able to stretch the thing out. So if you're tall, you can stretch it out. I'm 5'10" and works pretty good on that tighter setting like that, but I could see if you're a taller guy wanting to stretch that out. But if you got questions on this thing, just drop them in the comments or anything else that we covered in this video. One last thing I'll show you on this rig, because I've gotten several comments before in videos. These little isolation feet that I've got, hopefully you can see what this is. It's just a couple pieces of foam rubber, kind of like the material you'd see in like a gym floor, and stuck those together. On the bottom is like a chair glider that sticks up through it, and then it's all just zip tied on. The zip ties do tend to loosen over time, and sometimes these will rotate, but overall it works pretty good. And what it allows me to do is kind of slide this thing around like a piece of furniture. And it also helps a little bit, I think, with the base shaker isolation, so that it doesn't just transfer straight through to the floor and bug everybody in the house. Okay, next on the list, PS5. It's a couple years old, just the original PS5. Nothing too special about it there. It is hardwired. I do have a network switch behind this thing, behind the TV stand, so that's wired. I've got the two MacMinis I'll get into a little bit more, but one of them is my Plex media server. The other is my Simhub PC. Everything's wired, and that's my network storage drive. I do have the PS5 Camera, which is useful for streaming, and I was doing that a couple years ago a lot more. And I don't really do it anymore because what I realized is I don't enjoy streaming. It's not that fun for me. If you are interested in streaming on a PS5 though, or streaming while you're gaming, this is a pretty simple and reliable solution. All right, the Fanatec GT DD Pro. I do have the upgraded power boost, whatever they call it, so that it's up to, I think it's 9 Newton meters. I actually don't remember. And I showed you that I recently did the wheel. The wheel is totally stock. The magnetic shifters on it are pretty great. This is the old wheel, the original wheel. I did do a magnetic shifter mod. I think it was from 3D Wrap, and it's 3D printed parts and magnets that all get installed on the back of it. I've got a video on that one too. It's going to just sound like a one big promo video here, but if you're interested in that, that did improve it, much more solid shifts, but I do prefer this wheel. The buttons, I told you, the shifters, it just feels like a real steering wheel, much more over the GT DD Pro wheel. I've also got a couple of mods here with both pedals. So the brake pedal, obviously you can see there are only 2 pedals. Gran Turismo, not sporting clutch. I just pulled it out of there. It's now in a box as spare parts. The load cell, I did get the load cell brake pedal. And then actually recently, I noticed that the elastomers, 2 of them had completely shredded. Kind of see how they compress. And I tried using some 3D printed elastomers and some various things that just didn't work great. And what I found is this blue spring. The blue, I think, is a light tension spring meant for a 3D printer. And that seems to give me kind of a good compromise between travel and tension. And then you can see I've also got a rumble pedal on there. That is hooked up to this Arduino Uno. Another rumble pedal on this side, and some 3D printed brackets that just kind of help attach it with a single zip tie. Very simple. And then the throttle pedal, this is a pretty recent modification I did. It's an RC shock and spring, and some 3D printed bushings with some bolts, and I printed those myself. I'll talk briefly about the Simhub PC. So I'm running a MacMini, that guy on the bottom. It's about 10 or 12 years old, otherwise fairly useless. And I used Boot Camp to install Windows 10 on it, and then installed Simhub. There's lots of videos that kind of go through how you set that up and make that work, including on my channel, but lots of other ones out there. And then the Simhub PC is driving the base shakers on the rig, which are underneath, the wind simulation, those two computer fans, and the rumble pedals. So my power for the Fanatec wheelbase, power for the bass shakers. So this is going to the knob sound power amp, this guy. And then power for the Arduino, which is this guy. So it's feeding in here and then outputting through 4 different channels here. 2 of them to the rumble pedals and 2 of them to the fans. And then lastly, with my cables here, is the PS5 Simhub. So off of the rig, this is the USB, connects to the USB extension that connects this USB hub, which is connecting the Arduino Uno, the knob sound, and this latest addition, the display, dedicated display unit, which is a single USB cable inside. This is just a 3D printed housing. I'll go into details on that in a second. And so all of those USB connections just land down here at the impossible to see USB hub under there. One other device that hits that USB hub that I keep forgetting about because it doesn't work with the PS5 is inside here. I took apart a PS4 controller and used the headphone circuit board and created just a little interface. So it's a 1/8 inch jack on the top there. You can see it looks like the bottom of a PS4 controller. And I used this when I was using a PC to do iRacing. That was the easiest and cleanest way for me to get headphone audio while doing iRacing through a Windows PC. Haven't really used it though, because typically what I use on PS5 is this. I just use the controller most of the time. I can get audio through the sound bar, but typically when I'm gaming, I use that. And the Sennheiser gaming headset, I don't remember the model number here. It was probably, I don't know, 100, 150. Oh, there you go. There's the model number. GSP 600. It's pretty great, I think, except for the cover popping off. It works pretty great. Sounds really good. Very isolating. Sometimes too much if somebody's trying to talk to you. And the microphone works great, and mute when lifted. Okay, let's do a real-time setup. So anytime I want to race, you walk over here, gotta lift it up. I do kind of brace it. I can obviously lift the whole thing. It's not terrible. I get it onto the carpet and then I can kind of slide it into place. I've got a little sticker in the center of the rig. Helps me kind of line it up with the TV stand and the TV. I kind of bounce over here, and it's really 5 cables. Fanatec wheelbase. It's going to get connected to the PS5. And I've got the power cable for the Fanatec wheelbase. And I've got power for the bass shakers, power for the Arduino Uno motor shield, and then last is the USB hub. And that's it. And then usually I'll hit the power button on the PS5, but it's already going. Power button on the wheelbase. And then hit that button. And then really the last extra that I have on here is my laptop. And What I typically use this laptop for is Discord communication. Sometimes I will pull up YouTube lap guides, and it's easier to just kind of rip through here and watch it. And then two of the biggest things that I would use it for is, I talked about that Simhub PC. It is not hooked up to the TV or any monitor. So what I do is VNC into it, and then I'm able to control it as if I'm connected to it. It is laggy and kind of slow and cumbersome, but it does work. And being able to kind of do it all from this laptop, to me, is the convenience factor is worth it. So I can change Simhub settings in here. I've been using it a lot lately to edit and mess around with dashboards in Dash Studio. So what I did is I started with Lovely Dashboard, which is a popular dashboard out there for Simhub. And I've just been kind of copying, pasting, changing parameters and modifying to make it work the way I want it to. It is a really good looking and informative dashboard. The downside is that it includes lots of features that do not connect with Gran Turismo 7. So in iRacing or maybe ACC, it would be great. In Gran Turismo 7, I found most of what was on there, although it looked great, wasn't really helping me. So what I wanted to do was really zero in on tire temperatures, because those are available in Gran Turismo 7 telemetry, but not shown on screen. And my input telemetry, throttle and braking telemetry. So what I did is created a dashboard that really just shows those two. And then recently I copied and pasted lap times. The Lovely dashboard includes like a multi-function widget that had lap times. It looks really good. It's kind of helpful, even though it is on screen in Gran Turismo 7. But I guess if you run 20 laps, you could lose your best lap. Coach Dave Delta is software that does run on a Mac or a PC, and they do have a Gran Turismo 7 mode that essentially is capturing all the telemetry data while you're driving, racing, and it is super useful to like compare your lap times, telemetry, driving line to a reference, or even like you can use your own fast lap as a reference and see what you're doing in other areas. And it's just a cool way to kind of analyze your driving and find ways to improve. Now let's show you that DDU. I also quickly wanted to say thank you to the 990 plus subscribers to this channel. It's amazing. So thank you for doing that. The vast majority of people who view my channel and videos do not subscribe. So if you like the content, subscribing and liking the videos does help the channel grow. It helps me out and would be super appreciated. And let's get into this DDU now. So what this is a $44, I believe it was, shipped Vocore 4-inch LCD screen. It's coming from China, like a lot of things, but I believe it was $44 shipped, and it's a 800 by 480 display that connects to the PC, the Simhub PC, with a single USB-C cable. So no power needed. It made this a very easy addition on my rig, as you can see. Then I 3D printed this housing, just an STL file I found online. Pretty simple. It actually had two like brackets that came down, but I decided to do it this way. And really what I did is there's just an aluminum plate that I securely fastened to the wheelbase, and then I used 3M dual lock tape, just a couple of squares, to be able to pop that on. Holds it nice and secure, and it's pretty easy to take it off if I need to. So I'm using Lovely Dashboard, but a highly modified version. The idle screen on Lovely Dashboard allows you to put in your number and your name, or you can get rid of them. You can also do a background image. So I found that online and put that together. Then I started getting curious on how to make my own dashboards. So let's just jump on the track here. So as soon as you are back on the track now, you can see the screen automatically changed. So this is a design I've been working on. And what I've got in the lower left-hand corner here are tire temps. Let's see if we can make the wheel spin here and heat them up. And might be hard to see on the screen, but I do actually have a numerical readout that is giving the temperatures of those tires too. Next to that, this is directly from the lovely dashboard. It's one of the widgets, and it is lap time. So you've got your current lap time, last lap time, best lap time. I, like a dork, decided to put my logo down in the corner, and then I like having a clock easily available. But the thing that I really wanted on a dashboard was the trace telemetry for brake and throttle, mostly for braking, because my braking, after doing this racing in this game for over 20 years, I realized was still pretty atrocious. So that's kind of one of the reasons I started using that Coach Dave, because you can go and review replays and compare replays, watch, you know, back to back with somebody who's much faster, and just watch what they're doing with the brakes. And I'm spinning out with the brakes here, but you can see you're getting a trace in real time. The throttle does help too, actually. I've been noticing lately, because where I think I'm dropping to like half throttle, I actually was dropping to nothing. So I'm finding this very useful while driving. And then in Simhub Studio, the original telemetry chart that I found was like it had like 200 points. So basically it's a pretty small window of time that it's showing that trace. So I extended it to 500 so that after I get through the turn and I'm safe, now I can take a quick glance down and see what happened with that braking trace. So it stays on there for a good, I don't know what that is, 6-7 seconds. That's it. That's the whole rig. Thanks for watching. If you got questions on any of the stuff that I ran through in here, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. I do appreciate you watching. Appreciate any of the likes and the subscriptions, and hope you have a great new year.